Welcome back to Patrick Christie's tonight. Well, coming up, the absolutely horrendous case of an Afghan asylum seeker who doesn't think he's done anything wrong raping a 15-year-old schoolgirl because in his home country, that kind of thing's normal. But first, is Lucy Letby innocent? It's time now for the head-to-head. Well, Jeremy Hunt has become the latest high-profile politician to call for the Lucy Letby case to be re-examined. So the former neonatal nurse was convicted for murdering 7 babies and attempting to kill 7 others while working at the Countess of Chester Hospital in 2015 and 2016. But since her conviction in August 2023, a panel of leading medics have concluded that poor medical care and natural causes were the real reasons for the deaths of those babies. A whole host of leading politicians, like former Culture Secretary Nadine Dorries, senior Tory MP David Davis, have come forward to claim that Letby is innocent. And now the former Health Secretary, Jeremy Hunt, has added his voice to that chorus. Writing in the Daily Mail and citing that expert panel I just told you about, Jeremy Hunt said, "This analysis raises serious and credible questions about the evidence presented in court, the robustness of expert testimony and the interpretation of statistical data. That is why I and parliamentary colleagues such as Sir David Davies now believe the time has come for these concerns to be addressed as a matter of urgency." Well, look, obviously, I'm asking that question, aren't I? Is Lucy Letby innocent? Let me know your thoughts. Go to gbnews.com/your say. Going head-to-head on this now are the founder and CEO of Freedom from Abuse, Marilyn Hawes, and the criminal defence lawyer, Paul Britton. Thank you very much. Great to have you both on the show. Marilyn, I'll start with you. Is Lucy Letby innocent?
I don't know. You don't know. Nobody knows. The only person that does is her. But the point is, I mean, I don't want to condemn anyone. I'm sat on the fence because there is, to me, if you're in a court, it has to be beyond reasonable doubt. And there is doubt. This guy, Dr. Dewey Evans, who was the expert witness, who decided after 10 minutes only of looking at paperwork, oh yes, there's blood over the liver, that means this is foul play, is not agreed with by 14 global renowned early years neonatal consultants who independently looked at these cases and decided there was no foul play. Then you've got Dr. Michael Hall, another retired paediatrician and neonatalist, said he was very concerned about the fairness of the trial and the validity of the medical evidence provided, but he wasn't allowed to give his evidence in the court. So I just don't understand it. And Dewey Evans then said, oh, I now realise the air in the stomach was due to the fact the baby hadn't opened its bowels. And he's supposed to be an expert witness. I don't know. But what I do think is there is doubt. And this woman's being banged up for 15 life sentences. But above all, I really feel for the parents. I've lost babies. I understand how that feels. And it's terrible.
OK. Paul, well, how do you respond to what Marilyn said there? It certainly appears that there is quite a lot of doubt.
Well, no, there isn't, Patrick. There's so much in that. I'm sitting here biting my lip, and the list of names that you reel off, none of them were there for a 10-month trial. And what these people are doing is they are picking up on the smallest piece of evidence, which is the medical evidence. What they're not considering, and we talk about beyond reasonable doubt, well, I'm sorry, 12 jurors, Lucy Letby was judged by her peers, that was her right, and 12 jurors found that she was guilty. And then the judge penalised her, punished her with 14 whole life sentences. Judges don't do that if they too weren't convinced by guilt. So I don't believe that there can be any doubt on whether or not she was guilty. We are talking about, everyone's trying to isolate this into one piece of evidence, the medical evidence. There was more than just medical evidence. There was forensic scientists, there were witnesses, there were parents, there was patterns of behaviour. There was a note in her own writing, in Miss Letby's own handwriting, saying, I am evil, I did this. Why does everyone not talk about the overwhelming evidence? And all we want to do is talk about one piece of medical evidence that was a small fraction of a 10-month trial. And just to put that, Patrick, wait there, final point. Just to put that in perspective, it was one of the longest trials in all of criminal history in this country.
OK. All right, fair. Well, go on, Marilyn. How would you come back to that, then?
Well, of course it was, because there were so many babies and each one had to be heard. But, you know,
well, you just said that he spent 10 minutes over one piece of document. So it wasn't 10 minutes, was it? There was 15 counts.
I listen to you. Please have the courtesy to listen to me. Where's the forensic evidence? Where is the forensic evidence? One guy, Dr. Javi Jairam, he's escalated suspicions purely because she was on the ward. That ward had infections. There were very pre-prem, very sick babies there. Pre-prem, very sick babies have a habit, sadly, of dying of liver failure and other medical conditions. There was infection on that ward, which has never been actually spoken about. There were sanitary conditions on that ward. There were, there were doctors
All
that were
of
not
these
available.
issues were well ventilated at the trial.
Excuse me, I'm talking.
Yeah, you're not making any good points.
Would you just listen,
it was
please?
all very well ventilated at the trial, which you weren't there. You're jumping on a bandwagon. In this country, we don't have trial by Twitter and YouTube.
But we do, unfortunately, Paul, we do have some cases of miscarriages of justice. So what I'll do is we'll finish on Marilyn. We'll finish on Marilyn, and then I'll come back to you.
Trials that are miscarriages of justice.
Fair enough. I get that, but I'll go, Marilyn. Just wrap it up relatively quickly, then we'll go to Paul, please. Thank you.
There have been miscarriages of justice. Juries are only able to listen to what they hear. They are normal members of the public. They are not. I wouldn't want to be there in their role at all hearing this, but only she knows the truth. But there are flaws here. There are things. I don't know whether she's guilty or not. I don't know. I wouldn't want to call it.
I'll come in now. So, Paul, look, one of the things that it did shine a light, one of the accusations is that actually the quality of maternity care in Britain as a whole is actually so poor and potentially was at that hospital that a lot of other doctors on that ward might have been quite happy to jump on the idea that Lucy Letby was this evil serial killer because it got a lot of them out of trouble. How would you respond to that?
Patrick, these are not new issues. These issues were ventilated at the trial. We had King's Counsel representing both parties. They weren't on an uneven footing. They were on an even footing. There was cross-examination of all of these points over a period of 10 months. It's not a case where things were missed or someone was... And the point that jurors can only listen to what they hear. I mean, there's just no point in that at all. I mean, of course they can only listen to what they hear. But also in court, they would have been shown diagrams. They would have been shown the medical evidence. They would have heard the cross-examination from King's Counsel on both sides and all of the evidence. It's not just these little snippets that people pick up from social media. I mean, you could not possibly be seized of all of the facts, all of the issues that were ventilated over a 10-month period in 5 minutes. It's just ridiculous.
Where's the forensic evidence? Where is the actual forensic evidence? Because a lot of it seems to be circumstantial. How can you negate 14 global renowned NATO consultants who have said there was no foul play? How can you just throw that out the window and then say, oh, well, the jury are right. The jury who don't have any expert medical ability to actually make that decision.
It's not a medical conference.
Juries make wrong decisions. Judges make wrong decisions. Are you really telling me that judges get every decision right? Oh, please. Welcome to my world. I'll tell you, they get many wrong.
Patrick, this is not a case from the 1980s where we used archaic, not very reliable medical evidence, right? It's a very recent case. I think the medical evidence is sound. If there were these 14 experts that now have come, 14 experts out of tens of thousands of medical experts at special... There are 7,000 registered in the United States alone. There are hundreds in this country, and you've mustered together 14. I'm sorry. That is not
I didn't muster any.
I've just given you the numbers. I've just given you the numbers.
All right, we've got to go. We've got to go.
The truth any more than I do.
I think people's hairs will be standing on end when they hear that Lucy Letby.
I've enjoyed it. Thank you very much. We're going to have to go because I've got to squeeze in a load of other stuff. But thank you very, very much. That is, of course, Paul Britton there and Marilyn Hawes. Take care. Right, who do you agree with? G on your say says she's innocent. No forensic evidence, no eyewitnesses, just a hospital desperate to dodge blame, right? Lynn says every one of those questioning Letby's guilt weren't there or aren't medically qualified to make this call. I believe she's guilty. So basically, that debate is just raging on in the inbox. Anyway, so loads more coming your way.